Today's episode on Sweet Tea Hospitality is all about how to bring heart into the home and really make this property into what we've envisioned to be the beachside bungalow. Thank you for joining me today for Sweet Tea Hospitality. I'm Karen Conrad, and we're working on a vacation rental property in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Well, today's the day that we're doing all the details needed to really make this property jump out on the internet, because when people book a vacation rental, it's not like they come and check out the home to make sure that it's okay. They're probably thousands of miles away and they're booking a property online based on how it looks and how they think their experience will be at the property. Now, on top of that, it's a whole nother thing that when they actually arrive and walk into the home, that they feel welcomed and it captures their heart. This is a really important step in the process of creating a successful vacation rental. And the things that we're going to cover today are actually going to help you with bringing hospitality into your own home.
And the idea of a heart in a home, which Karen has talked about so much, and how this is inspiration for your heart and home. So really the home is a bit of a shell. It can be nicely painted and decorated, but when you get the heart involved, it really transforms itself. And one of the things I love about the heart in this home is the idea of community, because the kitchen, although it's small, is very functional. And we get in the kitchen together and we have a really good time making a meal together. And then we can eat together and watching a movie on the couch. We've got the whole couch set up, and that can accommodate people. And again, we're having that family community time. So Karen actually created spaces that draw people into a community experience where they want to sit down and have a meal together at the dining table, or play some cards, or sit over in the seating area, which is a really fun spot to be, and just enjoy that, because there's like a little fireplace there and you can sit 4 people. So yeah. I love the community part.
I do too. It's just between the outdoor spaces and just kind of the healthy lifestyle of being by the beach and the small house that's very open. It was really enjoyable to spend time there with family and friends, and not just have people go isolate and like go on their phone or whatever when there was downtime. And I think a lot of that had to do with the actual house and how it was laid out.
In my workshop at our South Lake home, and this was a fun part of the project. This is what really brings the heart of the beachside bungalow into the property. And it's hard to spend the money sometimes on furniture and furnishings, because technically they are depreciating assets. But I'm telling you, in a vacation rental, you have to make sure you get fairly good quality furniture that's going to hold up, and you put things together in a way that gives that great picture on the internet, right? So that everybody decides, I want to stay there. And I love to look at magazines. As a matter of fact, I'll study them, just look at pictures, imagine spaces. And so in that process, one of the things I realized is with such a small space, I really needed to make sure that I kept things light and very functional throughout the property. This was not an easy feat because there are, for furniture, and many of you know that there's supply chain issues going on. Plus, I'm doing it from 1,000 miles away. So what I did is I studied pictures. I drew out how I wanted all the furniture to lay out. I thought through what we can do to maximize the number of people that can stay here. And then I promptly went to Amazon and Wayfair to order the furniture. So the supply chain issues in themselves caused me a disruption, and I want to tell you why. Wayfair, generally, I love their furniture, but generally I could go on and get things in like 2 days. What I found is with what's happening now, when I would order things from them, I couldn't even depend on them being delivered by the date they thought that they should be delivered. And I found when I would search on there for things that would be delivered within 2 days, most of the time nothing showed up. And so I had to kind of switch my process over to Amazon, and I found a lot of the same furniture, which was very, very interesting to me because I thought that maybe it was just Wayfair furniture, but what I discovered is that oftentimes between Amazon, Wayfair, I don't know, there's a lot of other online stores out there, they must go back to the same suppliers. So that's a nice tip for you. Now, with the main furnishings, I had to think through how I could get as many people in that house as possible. So let's just talk about the bedrooms for a moment. We have 2 small bedrooms. And in those bedrooms, when I looked at pictures online of what the house looked like in the previous listing that they had actually staged it, I noticed that there was way more bed than there was space. And I don't know if you've ever walked into rooms, but when you've got the bed that's kind of going up over the windows and then you've got the end tables that are squished to the side, I knew that that wasn't going to work. And so I actually figured out that where I placed the beds had a lot to do with how big the room felt. And so in the master, I put the bed on a wall that was outside of where I could actually look into the room. And so what I mean by that is instead of the bed being right there when I look in, I placed it to the side, which gave a little bit more of an illusion and a feel of space around the bed. When you are doing a vacation rental property, you want to make sure that the beds are comfortable. I've studied reviews, and that's one of the things that people will complain about is if the beds are not high quality, you definitely can have issues with the ratings. So I got nice beds that had a platform, and that allows you to just buy one mattress. How's that for a cost savings? And so I had to find the right type of mattresses and get them to come in within 1 to 2 days. Boy, I'll tell you, Levi saved the day with all of this because he was down there waiting for these furniture pieces to arrive, and a real estate agent actually helped to coordinate getting some of those boxes inside. And so we had a sea of boxes. I think we had more box than house, meaning that we had stuff everywhere. We saved a lot of money by putting it together ourselves. When we went into the family room, we had a really struggle with how to lay this out as well. So I figured out how to create out 2 living spaces, which was really important. but I had to pay attention to the width of the room. This is a narrow room, and it's a common problem. You've maybe even gone through this where you love this piece of furniture, but when you get it into your house, it's actually too big for the house. So let me give you a little tip here. Before you purchase or order furniture, lay out a plan with the dimensions and then scale it with what you've got on the furniture. So when I go in and look at furniture, you can go in, sometimes click 2 or 3 times and find the exact dimensions of the furniture. And then I take that and I literally draw it out in the room so I can imagine what that's like when I'm actually in that space. So I did a great job of kind of envisioning everything. And I've had a little practice with this, but I did have a miss with 2 chairs. I love these chairs, and at the time, I just thought they were so different. They had like sandpipers on. I really liked them. But when I actually got them in the room, they didn't work. I had too many legs going on those, and they seemed too big for the space. So I had to get my creative hat on. And if you've got a piece of furniture that you intended for an area, this may help you, because sometimes you can repurpose it and then put accessories in place to make it look on purpose. So I switched those out and I brought them into the conversation area. The 2 chairs that I had bought a set of 4, I brought those to the front, and you know what? Everything looked great. Now, you might say, Karen, just return those chairs. But you know what? It's not easy to return furniture. It's really easy to receive it. But oftentimes, they want you to pack the furniture back up in the box that you purchased it and bring it down to either the UPS, sometimes FedEx. And you know what? I'm just not good at that. So instead, I just figured out how to make it work. Another thing with a vacation rental that you want to keep in mind, now in your house, if you've got a guest room, this is something to think about. People need a place to lay out their suitcase. And a lot of times we do, and I ordered these, I actually have those suitcase, I don't know what they're called, but they open up, you've seen those in hotels and things, but they're oftentimes really flimsy, and I didn't want that. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I found 2 wood benches for about $60 each. And I put those in the bedrooms for suitcases. And you know what? It worked out great. So everything new, when you look at a property, can actually look kind of cold. And one of the problems that I've run into in design, and I actually see when I stay at vacation rentals or in hotels, is they have all new things and they don't have what would naturally be something to create a cozy space, old things to mix in with it. So one of my challenges was, where am I going to go to find some nice looking older things? So one day I took a trip to this little community called Cocoa, and I went into an antique shop and I found a couple things there, but I really tapped into a great space called the Vintage Marketplace. So I added some old books in there, just some old wood pieces. And you know what? That's what really brings heart into the home. So maybe you have just moved into a new home, or maybe you have all new furniture in a space and you're thinking, something about this is missing. Maybe it's because you need to bring some old in with the new. Also with a vacation rental, you got to kind of balance all the different details and the design pieces that you put into the home. If I'm staging a home, I'm going to load things up just to make it look as beautiful as possible, because you know what? I don't need to be practical. But when you've got a vacation rental, you have to realize that people have to have a place to put their cup, to put their glass, to move around. There's going to be kids in there. So I had to find that balance of how much decor and design to bring in and how much just to get comfortable with open spaces. When you think about all the things that you need for a vacation rental, it's a little bit overwhelming, and it certainly was. It was like furnishing a brand new house. Now it's really fun, but a vacation rental by the beach requires some unique things to help it stand apart. For example, If I'm by the ocean, I'm going to want a boogie board or surfboard, or I want a bicycle. I need some beach towels, things like that. So I had to think through all those things and find a place for them so that when somebody stayed there and they saw the pictures on the internet, they knew that this wasn't going to be just like a hotel room, but we were really going to give them a way to enjoy the beach. And so we want a place also for when we go down to Florida in between those rentals that's comfortable for our family. When you do a vacation rental or an investment property, you always think about, of course, what the guest experience is like. But I want to encourage you to also think about what your experience as the owner is like. So from things to have a closet where we keep it the owner's closet to put in maybe our fancy china or something that we only use when we go down there, to really thinking about the type of bedding that is going to be washable and not stain. And I've actually got a checklist that I put together for you that I want to encourage you, if you want to learn what to do to help furnish your vacation rental, go to KarenConrad.net. Windows were all different sizes, and I wanted to bring some consistency, so I did that through getting the same curtain rods over every window, the same curtains, which are my favorite ones from IKEA, and it took all this mixture of window sizes and placement and made them consistent. And finally, there's no overhead lights in the living space. There was in the dinette area, but in the entire living room area, there was no overhead lighting. So I had to find and choose lamps, place them in just the right place to make people walk in and feel like they had enough light to actually live comfortably in that space. If you would like that checklist, go to sweettea.tv and get the free download. That way I can help you to get going on your vacation rental without having to go through the process that I just went through.
Hi, thanks for joining us. We are together in the Sweet Tea Hospitality Workshop where creative things happen. And this is where Karen does a lot of her exploration of new concepts and ideas. And I get to join you and talk to you about our beachside bungalow.
Yeah, which is, oh my goodness, what a fun project. We're on the other side of it now, and I'm just so glad that we get to keep this property. Mm-hmm. You know, I end up sort of that typical thing they tell you not to do. I end up kind of falling in love with all the houses because we really put our heart into it and want to make sure that it's a place that is really blessing people. But this one in particular, because it's in Cocoa Beach, a block from the ocean, might have a little bit to do with it. But we just really did a lot of it ourselves as well. And so just the experience with us and Levi on this was really a beautiful bonding time. And we still get to go down in between the vacation rentals and we get to stay there. So we're very, very excited about that. But Dave, looking back at a project, it's always good to think about what could we have done better? What would we have done differently? So when you look back on that project, what stands out to you as something that we maybe could have done better?
Well, I can think of one thing, but it's kind of involves me holding the process back.
No,
how could that happen? All right.
Please share.
Yes. Sometimes, let's not get too deep into this, but let's face it, man, sometimes your wife she moves ahead of you. She's got an idea, and she's kind of throwing an idea out, which is really the best idea, but you're thinking, well, we don't need to do that. So here we were standing by the fireplace, which is attached in the house area, looking out at the shed. And Karen, she's saying, Oh, I think some nice grass around the continuation of this path that we're having put in, the pavers, would be really nice, because people could walk out there from one destination to the other. I'm thinking, I don't know, people, they walk through grass all the time. Let's just put some grass down, and they can walk through it.
And so I'm like, okay, I'll defer to that. Maybe it's just me that likes to have a path of connection. So I was like, okay, we'll just go without the connection, without the pathway. And also we went with a very inexpensive grass.
Well, yes, being a little on the, let's not put too much into this grass. We got some grass. I don't even know if it really qualifies as grass.
No, it was weeds. And it wasn't, we thought we were getting sod. It was clumps, literally clumps of weeds.
Yeah.
And we watered that, watered it.
Oh, yeah. It didn't help.
No.
So then the realization came where, looking back, baby, you were right. There should be a path through this, and we should have different grass.
Yeah, and we were so grateful for Benicio. We had him come over and take a look at the grass, and he explained to us.
That was his first idea.
It was. He's like, you really
Don't
need a
do
path.
this.
Yeah, and then when it was the grass where the decision was made to do the clumps, he's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be happy with it. And so I was like, Benicio, I am so sorry. We should have listened to you, and we will listen to you next time. Right? And
Yes.
so anyway, we learned a lesson. He worked with us on it.
He
and
did.
we had to get that all corrected. And now we have beautiful grass and a great pathway. You know what I love most about that pathway is when we take our bikes and we go down to Juice and Java, or just take a little bike ride down to the boardroom or whatever. We have so much fun tootling around in Cocoa Beach. But I like going in the driveway and being able to drive my bike all the way back to the shed.
Yeah.
It's a really wonderful experience.
It's a lot of fun. And a note for guys, you learn these little lessons in life and just keep track. So in the future, you kind of listen to the voice of wisdom.
Yeah.
And even Benicio said,
Benicio,
thank you. He said, I did tell this to you guys while he's looking at me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, he was full of grace.
Thanks for being so understanding.
Well, that's something that I was going to give advice to, is that, we all make mistakes. And so one of the things that when you're in these projects, there are times, it can get a little stressful. Things come up. And one thing that I think we've learned, and I'm really grateful for this, is we really don't look and say, I told you so, or, that would just make it unpleasant. We have room. I've made a lot of mistakes. And Dave and Levi are always full of grace. And so that's just, what? Things are going to happen. We're going to learn. And now next time when we go into a project, we're not going to try to skimp on the outside, because we know it's
That's
really
a great
important.
lesson.
So, hey, we learned a lot. Hospitality is definitely God's idea. When you think about it, when we come into our home, or we come into even a vacation rental, it's a place of rest, it's a place to enjoy family, and it's very, very important to the Lord that we've got that place at the end of the day to really gather, rest, and spend time with Him and with the people that we love. And with this vacation rental, it was so important that we were able to capture the heart of God in this home and really extend that hospitality to everybody who would enter the property. And I feel like this is my favorite part of any project, because it's really a time that I spend with the Lord, and I love it because I can ask Him, even when shopping, what do you think about this? Show me the things that I should put in this home. And as much as I enjoy decorating, I study for it, really it's the Lord's touch through the decorating that brings the heart into the home. Proverbs 24, 3 through 6 says this, and I'm going to read it to you in the Amplified Classic Edition. Through skillful and godly wisdom is a house, a life, a home, a family built. And by understanding it is established on a sound and good foundation. And by knowledge shall its chambers of every area be filled with all precious and pleasant riches. I want to encourage you in your home to just take this verse and ask God to show you, okay, in this area, how can I be sure it's filled with all precious and pleasant riches from you? That is God's desire. And before you know it, you'll have ideas spring forth. You'll see things as you're out shopping or even as you're looking in your closet and pulling things out. He will show you how to create spaces in every area of your home to really provide that biblical, godly hospitality to all that enter. Making the beachside bungalow a place where people enjoy staying and actually are comfortable with some of the comfortable features and design aspects takes some investment. And the cost that we did to put this together was actually quite reasonable for all that we did. But you want to be prepared if you buy an investment property or a vacation rental, you're going to want to set aside some money to make sure you furnish it well. So the furniture was $6,865. Can I give you a hint? Put it together yourself. That saved us so much money. The other thing is when I used to stage houses, we didn't have to really think about like tightening all the screws just perfectly. So I had to tell Levi, hey, this isn't staging furniture. This has to stay and people need to be able to live on it without it tipping and getting wobbly. The curtains and the rods were just $225. My favorite curtains are the IKEA curtains that you can get for $4.99 a pair. It's the best deal out there, and the style of those is actually called Lily, so you can check that out. The towels and all the kitchen items were $965. The rugs, $260. The lamps were $795. The decor, accessories, and bedding were $1,375. Another tip with the bedding, I ordered them on Amazon and I got bamboo sheets. They clean up well. They are so soft and they're very durable. So I encourage you to check that out, bamboo sheets. And the total was $10,485. In my opinion, that was money very well spent. I'd like to know what you think after you see the inside of the beachside bungalow. Recap today's episode. This is where we are working really hard to make sure that this property is looking great on the internet. And then when the people arrive, that this home really captured their heart. Because you know what? We want them to come back. That's one of the ways that we can make sure that we get a return on investment and good reviews, which is really important with vacation rentals. Here's some of the things that we did that were really key, and write these down because these are tips that you can use in your own home. One of the things that I see a lot of people make a mistake with is they purchase all new things, which looks great, but there's not that warmth to the home, or there's a lack of texture in the property, meaning they've got the lamps, they've got the chairs, but what about the softness of the pillows and some plants? So one of my favorite adventures through this whole series was discovering this cute little place called the Vintage Marketplace. It actually reminded me of places that I used to go to when I grew up in Minnesota, and I picked up several pieces that are antiques or not brand new and mixed them into the property. You know, it's really amazing how that brings warmth and hospitality into a home. Also, I love the power of pillows. I like to have a neutral palette with everything in the property as far as furniture and bring the color and accent in with the pillows. Do you know you can actually change that out? If you get tired of a blue color scheme, then you just change the pillows out and you can move to a red color scheme or a yellow one, whatever you'd like. And the bedrooms were really important so that people felt comfortable. Getting a solid mattress, a good quality bed is key in a vacation rental. And then getting the shams, the pillows that made it easy to make the bed, but really made an impact as soon as they walked through those doors is what really created a space that people love and want to stay in. If you want this entire series plus a renovation guide, it's all for sale on sweettea.tv, or you can watch all the episodes on liftable.tv. If you want to check out the Coastal Cottage, which is our previous project, go to sweettea.tv. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Karen Conrad, and I'll see you next time on Sweet Tea Hospitality.